Hello everyone, welcome to the session today. Hope you all can hear me. Can you guys confirm once? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for confirming. So let us start the session, guys. So let me share my screen. So if you guys remember, we have seen yesterday about GCP locations, right? So the context is that if I wanted to deploy any resource or if I wanted to deploy any application in the Google Cloud platform, we need to must select a proper location. We know that the geographic location of any resource affects your cost, performance, as well as availability. So that is what we have seen yesterday, if you guys remember. And when we go into the depth, we have seen that Google's entire infrastructure is divided into multiple locations. Those total locations are 5. These locations are further divided into regions. Total, we have 37 regions are there. These regions are further divided into zones. Total, 112 zones are there. So this is how it is. And you can able to see here, this is what we call as a North America location, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia. So these are the total 5 locations that we have in Google Cloud Platform, guys. So GCP's entire infrastructure is divided into these 5 locations. Now each location is divided into regions. You can able to see here the blue dots are the regions. And I have also told you, if I take a location divided into multiple regions, each region is a collection of zones. Each zone is connected to the one more zone via high bandwidth network and low latency network. Each zone will be having the resources. So that is the reason zones are called as availability zones. Okay. So, and we can also call the zone is a deployment area because we are going to do the deployments on top of the zone only. Okay. What is a region? A region is an independent geographic area inside a location which is consist of zones. Okay, similarly, what is a zone? A zone is a deployment area where the Google Cloud resources are there in a region. Okay, a zone is there within a region only you will be having it. Zones are separated from each other. Each zone will be having the data center. Okay, so one of the example for the region is US Central 1. One of the example for the zone is US Central 1A. And so this is where we have stopped yesterday, guys. So if I wanted to select a proper location, what is the selection criteria? Okay, what is the selection criteria? These important things we are going to cover today, guys. The very first point is that if I wanted to deploy any resources in the Google Cloud platform, it is important to consider the proximity of the region or zone to your target users or the customers. Okay, so the very first point is that whenever we are deploying the resources, for example, let me gonna take an example. Assume that, okay, assume that you are in India. Okay, you are inside the India. This is where we have here, sir, India. So for the Indian users, you are trying to create one application. So for the Indian users, you are trying to create one application. That application will be utilized by the Indian users only. Okay, you wanted to create one application and the target users for the target users are there in India only. Okay, so what you have done is that, and you have here USA. Instead of deploying your application in the Indian data center, what you have done is that you have deployed your application in the data center that is there in the USA. You have deployed your application, whatever the application that you have created, right? So what you have done is that you have deployed your code in the USA data center. Where you have deployed, you have tried to deploy it in the USA data center. Now your application is available here. Your application is running in the North America data center only. Okay, your application is available in the North America data center. 1 minute. Okay, now your application is available in the North America data center. The target users are there in India. Where your target users, sir? Your target users are in India. So what they try to do is they wanted to use your application. They wanted to use that particular application. What they tried to do, all the way from the India, they are trying to connect it to the application that is there in the North America. They are trying to connect it to the application all the way from the India to the North America data center, because your application is running in the data center of North America only. So while they are accessing, they are facing a lot of issues, because all the way from the India to the USA, they have to connect it to it. So that's the reason there will be a network lag will be there. There will be a network lag will be there. So when there is a network lag, people face a lot of latency issues. Your application may not be available to them because of the latency. That means if you're trying to access the application, it takes like 15 seconds, 20 seconds, even 30 seconds, sometimes 1 minute also to load the application, because you are trying to connect it to the application all the way from the India to the North America, because your application is deployed in the North America data center. So there will be a lot of latency will be there. So which leads to unavailability of your application. The availability of your application is very less. The availability of your application is very less. So whenever there is a network lag, whenever people are trying to face a latency issues for your application, whenever they are accessing, no one wanted to use your application. Okay, no one wanted to use your application if they are facing a lot of issues like availability issues or latency issues or the network lag. Okay, so that is the reason they don't use your application. That's where you are going to find a problem that you are going to lose the business at all, because your business, you think that you are going to get a lot of profit out of this application, but what happened is that instead of deploying it on top of your Indian data center, you have deployed in a North America data center. So that is the reason no one will use your application if they are facing a lot of network issues as well as latency issues. So that's the reason you are going to lose your business totally. So that is the reason what is our first point says is that. Now look at our first point. Whenever deploying a resources in Google Cloud Platform, it is important to consider the proximity of the region or zone to your target users or the customers. Okay, so whenever you wanted to deploy a resources or deploy your application in any of them, okay, if you wanted to deploy a resources in Google Cloud Platform, try to select a location such as region or zone to your target users or customers. Always focus on your target users. Wherever your target users are there, select a region or zone near to your target users. Select a region or zone near to your target users. So this is what you have to do, sir. If you don't do that, you are going to face a lot of problems such as network lag, latency. That's where you are going to lose your entire business at all. Okay, so that is the reason always deploy your resources near to your target users. That means instead of deploying it in top of a North America data center, so you look for a resources or you look for a data center that is there in the data that is there in India only. Try to deploy your application in the Indian data centers only. Okay, so the network lag will be very less, because people from India trying to access the data center that is there in the network data center only, which is there in India only. So the network lag will be very less. The latency of the application will be very less. Whenever these two are very less, the availability of the application will be very high, so that people start using your application more. Because as soon as you open it, the application is getting opened, and the performance of the application is very good, and the latency is very less. So they will like your application. So that's where they start utilizing your application. So this is how, whenever you wanted to deploy a resources in the Google Cloud Platform, it is important for us to consider the proximity of the region or zone to your target users. In a simple words, try to deploy your application near to your target users or the customers. Try to deploy your application near to your target users or the customers. That is what is your first point says. Okay, so what you have to do, Whenever you wanted to create a resource, sir, my users are there in India, try to select a location that is near to your India. In India, we have Mumbai. In India, we have Delhi data centers are there. Try to select those details, try to select those resources, location properly, so that you are going to get a benefit of the performance and you are going to get a benefit of the availability. The network latency will be very less. So that is what is the very first point says, guys. Okay, what is our first point says? Try to deploy your resources near to your target users or the customers. In a simple words, try to deploy your resources near to your target users or the customers. Okay, when I say near to my target users, select a region or zone near to your target users. So that is what is the first point says. Hope that is clear. Now, what is second point says? To deploy a fault tolerant applications with a high availability and help protect against the unexpected failures. Okay, so to deploy a fault tolerant applications with a high availability and help protect against the unexpected failures, deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region. Deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region. What is this second point says, sir? So if I talk about the second point, let me gonna tell you, let me gonna take a simple scenario. Okay, so this is a region, sir. We already know that each region will have how many zones, guys? Minimum how many zones we will be having in a region? Can you guys confirm how many regions will be there in a region? How
3.
many zones? Minimum 3 zones will be there. Let me talk zone 1. Let me talk zone 2. Let me take zone 3. So 3 zones are there. Okay, so this is how it is, guys. 1 minute, please. It is heavily raining here. Give me 1 minute, guys. Can you guys confirm? Are you guys able to hear me clearly without any disturbance?
Yeah, it's loud and clear.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, guys. So let us talk about the second point. What is the second point says is that, so whenever you wanted to deploy a fault tolerant applications or help protect against the unexpected failures, try to deploy your application across multiple zones in a region. So what is that mean? Let me gonna tell you. For example, assume that you have a client. What usually client do is that he will go into give you some kind of a requirement. The requirement is that he given you some 100 GB of the data. So there is a client for you and he has given you 100 GB of the data and he is asking for you to store it. He is asking for you to store it. And what you have done, you went to the Google Cloud platform straight away. And you know that in Google Cloud platform, there is a service called Google Cloud Storage is there, where it stores any amount of data. So what you have done is that you went to the Google Cloud Storage and you wanted to select a location. And you store, you have to create a bucket here. And inside the bucket, you can store the data here. So while creating the bucket, you need to select, because in Google Cloud Storage, if you wanted to create a resource, you need to select a proper location. You need to select a proper location. What you have done is that, so for your client, he has given you some 100 GB of the data. He is asking you to store the data. And what you have done is that if I store it in an on-premises, I may lose the data, because we now know that the on-premises may lose the data. So you went to the cloud platforms. In Google Cloud Platform, you have a service called Google Cloud Storage Service, where you can create a bucket and store any amount of data. So while creating the bucket, it is asking for you to select a location. It is asking for you to select a location. Okay, let me gonna show you that also. So if I go to the Google Cloud Platform, If I go to the Google Cloud Platform, let me go to the cloud storage. I wanted to store the data here. So if I wanted to store the data, I need to create a bucket. I'm going to click on create bucket. So I give a bucket name, some bucket name I will give. And after that, it is asking for me to select a proper location where you wanted to store the data. We already know that the location concept is very much important whenever we wanted to deploy some resources. So what you have done is that you selected a single region. Okay, you select a region, that is US central one. Okay, what you have done is that while creating a location, for the location, you have selected a single region or single zone. Maybe you can think of region 1, region 2, region 3, sir. Okay, instead of this is location. Okay, so you have selected a single region. Okay, so when you select a single region, what happens is that due to some abnormal activities, maybe some earthquake or tsunami happened in this particular region. So that is sometimes we do not know that, right? What happens in our future. So we have selected some 100 GB of the data inside a bucket. And while we are selecting the location, we selected a single region, that is region 1 we have selected. So when we selected the single region, due to some abnormal activity or due to some earthquake, this entire total region 1 is crashed. That entire region 1 is crashed, guys. Can you guys tell me what happened to the your data? Can you guys tell me what happened to your data? So if the entire region itself it is crashed, the entire data center itself it is crashed. Okay, all the data center itself it is crashed because the region itself it is not there, because due to the earthquake everything is crashed. So you are going to lose the data now. You are losing your data because your data is not available now. Okay, so if the data is not available, if your client is asking for the data, now you do not have the data because of you selected a one single region. Due to some earthquake happened, that entire region was crashed. Due to that, you have lost your entire data. Now your client is asking you where is the data. Okay, now your client is asking you where is the data. You can't retrieve it because if the region itself it is crashed, we can't do anything. Okay, so that's how. So whenever you, what is our second point says is that whenever you wanted to deploy a fault tolerant applications or to help protect against the unexpected failures, the earthquake is an unexpected failures. If you wanted to protect your data against the unexpected failures, try to deploy your resources in multiple regions or multiple zones. Okay, try to deploy, while you are deploying it, try to deploy it in a multiple regions, so that even though this region is crashed, you can have your data from this particular region. Even though this is also crashed, you can have your data coming from this particular region. So this is how you can help protect against the unexpected failures. So if you wanted to protect the data unexpected, to avoid the lose of the data, or if you wanted to have your data all the time with you, always go for multiple regions or multiple zones. Okay, so that is what is your second point says. Okay, very beautiful point I'm telling you guys. So to help protect the unexpected failures, because the unexpected failures we do not know when it will happen. Okay, so if you wanted to have a fault tolerant applications, the fault tolerant is nothing but at any situation your application is available, at any situation your resource is available. So that is what fault tolerant means. At any situation your application or data is available, that is what we call as a fault tolerant. So what will happen? So whenever you are deploying the resource, if your data, if you think that your data is very critical, try to select multiple regions. If your data is not critical, then go for single region. That's not a problem. Okay, so this is what is the second point, guys. So this is what is our second point, you can see here. Okay, what is our second point? To deploy a fault tolerant applications with a high availability and help protect against the unexpected failures. Deploy your applications across multiple zones in a region. Similarly, deploy your applications in a multiple regions in a location. So that is also there. So this is what is our second point says. So if your data or your application or your resource is very critical, try to deploy it in multiple zones or regions. So it gives you it protects your data unexpected failures to against the unexpected failures. So this is what is our second point says. Okay, so this is our second point, guys. Hope that is also clear. And what is our third point says? It is essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services across different regions and zones as they may vary. Okay, what they are saying, it is essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services, both. You need to understand the pricing as well as availability of the services also across different regions and zones as they may vary. So what they are trying to say is that, look at here, assume that, assume that you have a zone 1, you have a zone 2, you have a zone 3. What Google Cloud Platform says is that if some resource is available in, some, for example, one of the resource virtual machine that is there in the zone 1, it may not be there in the zone 2, it may be there in the zone 3. So what they are saying is that, so that is what is your third point, first thing. So it is essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services across different regions and zones because it may vary. Okay, region to region, the resources may vary. Zone to zone, the resources may vary. Okay, so the very first thing that you have to understand is that the resources that are there in the zone 1 may not be available in the zone 2, may be available in the zone 3, may not be available in the zone 4. Okay, so what you have to do, sir? What you have to do? First thing, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. So you have 3 zones are there here, guys. So assume that the same example, that is your client is there, he has given you some 100 GB of the data, and you wanted to store, you wanted to create some virtual machine and you wanted to store it inside the virtual machine, guys. You wanted to store that 100 GB of the data inside a virtual machine. Okay, so what you have to do is that the very first thing, whenever you wanted to create a resource in the Google Cloud Platform, you check the availability. You check the availability of that particular resource because you wanted to create a virtual machine. Whether the availability, that virtual machine is available or not, you wanted to select it. First thing is that the very first thing that we select is availability. That is, so whether the VM is available in the zone 1, yes. Whether the VM is available in the zone 2, no. Whether the VM is available in the zone 3, yes. So what you have to do is that even before creating the resources, even before deploying the resources, you first check whether that particular resource that you are about to create it is available in the zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, where it is available. Properly select it. It is available here, it is not available here, it is available here. Next point of the third point says is that pricing. Okay, the pricing you have to understand. You need to go to the pricing model, you need to understand it. Let us just take the pricing. The cost of the virtual machine that is there in the zone 1 is $100 and it is not available, we don't worry about it. The cost of the same virtual machine in the zone 3 is $90. Can you guys tell me where we have to deploy our resource? Can you guys please tell me where we have to deploy our resource? Obviously zone 3, right? Because the resource is available here as well as it is coming with a less cost. So that's the reason you have to deploy or you have to create your resource here. So this is what is our third point says. Look at here, the third point, sorry. Third point, it is essential to understand the pricing, right? We understood. And the availability of the services across the different regions and zones because it may vary. The cost may vary, the availability of the service also may vary. So this is what is our third point says. Okay, so these are the 3 important things I am telling you guys. Whenever you wanted to deploy or create some resource in the Google Cloud Platform, you select this thing for sure. You go according to this one for sure. This perfect knowledge. I mean, you don't need to have this much knowledge on this GCP locations, because most of the things are taken care by the solution architect itself. But having the knowledge is very much important. Even though when you go for an interview, they will ask such kind of a things. Can you guys tell me how do you select a proper region and zone in your services? I'll say that. So we are considering 3 points. The very first point is this one, the second point is this one, the third point is this one. So that's how the interviewer will be very happy whenever you are saying such kind of a things. Okay, very useful for the interview for sure. At least one question they are going to ask in the exam also. If you go for associate cloud engineer exam, at least one question or two questions will come from this particular topic. Okay, so this is what is GCP GCP locations, region and zone selection criteria, guys. Okay, let me gonna just recap. If you wanted to deploy a resources in the Google Cloud platform, try to select a location, region or zone near to your target users. That is what is our first point is. The second point is that to deploy a fault tolerant applications and help protect against the unexpected failures, try to deploy your applications across multiple regions or zones in a location. Try to deploy multiple zones or multiple regions. And the third point says it is essential to understand the pricing as well as availability of the services, because it may vary from region to region, zone to zone. Okay, so this is what is our third point says. Hope that is clear. Finally, we have here the note. Finally, here we have the note, guys. By understanding the GCP regions and zones, it allows organizations to design and deploy their applications and services with a high availability, resilience, and optimal performance. Yes or no? So with the knowledge of GCP locations, with now you can able to understand that. So if I select a proper location, if I select a proper region or zone, so that I get my application with the high availability and optimal performance and less latency. That is what we understand so far. So by understanding the GCP regions and zone, one can design and deploy their applications with a high availability, resilience, and optimal performance. And it also helps meet the data compliance requirements, enables effective disaster recovery. When you go for multiple regions and zones, that is what we call it as a effective disaster recovery strategy. One of the disaster recovery strategy is that if you select a single region, so due to the disasters, you may lose the data. But when you select a multiple zones or multiple regions, so that is one of the strategy to against the disasters. So that is what we call as the second point. And one more thing here we are looking at is data compliance requirements. What is mean by data compliance? Data compliance is nothing but the owner of the the owner of the data should be having the access to the data. Other people should not be having the access to the data. So that is what we call as a data compliance. So let me going to give you a very simple example for this one, guys. A real world example, let me try to give you. So you, most of the people here already know about the PUBG. Yes or no? Can you guys tell me? Are you guys know about the PUBG game? PUBG Battlefields, right? So if you guys remember, some time back or 1 or 1.5 year back, it was banned in India. Can you guys tell me why it is banned in India? Anyone? Why it was banned in India? People think that it was because of PUBG is a dangerous game and people are putting a lot of effort, lot of money, and they are, they are addicted to that. So it is an addiction game, but that's not the reason that why India has banned it. Do you guys know?
because because of most of accident happen due to the PUBG game.
Yeah, people think that actually that's not actually the reason. Okay, people think that it was addiction, people think that it was people putting a lot of money into it. It's not the reason actually why it has banned India, right? Let me gonna tell you. Okay, the PUBG game was actually developed by the some Korean company, and they have deployed this application in the China's data center, because China is a very cheap. So in one of the China's data center, this PUBG application was deployed. This PUBG application was deployed. Now your application of the PUBG, where it is available, sir? It is available in the China's data center. Now most of the PUBG users are from India only. The Korea getting the lot of money from the Indian users only, because most of the people who are using the PUBG is from India only. Now people are utilizing the PUBG, then there is no problem. But whenever they are accessing the application that is there in the China's data center, you are actually providing a lot of information. You are entering. So while you are actually registering for the PUBG, what you are doing is that you are entering a lot of information of your public information is stored in the China's data center. So lot of Indian users data is stored in the China's data center. We already know that China is a risk, or it is a risky country, or it is a kind of threat to the India. Right now, most of the people are started using the PUBG, and most of the information of Indian users is stored in the China's data center. The Indian government had thought that it could be a risk for us. It could be a threat for us. So that is the reason India has banned the PUBG. India has banned the PUBG. So this is the main reason that the Indian government has banned the PUBG. It's because that the information, the owner of the information is India. The owner of the information is India, but the information is actually stored in the China's data center. This is what is the data compliance problem. It comes under the data compliance issue. Data compliance is something that whoever is the owner of the information should be having the data. No one should be not be having an access to that particular information. So that is the reason. So the Indian government thought that it could be a risk to us. So that's the reason they have banned the PUBG, so that now people is not storing any information, not sending any information to the China's data center. So now the PUBG is not there. But what nowadays still again PUBG came? Yes or no? Again people started using the PUBG? If you guys know it, yes. Because what the Korean has done is that they are getting a very huge loss because of that. Indian government has banned it. They are on a very huge loss because they have deployed it on a China's data center. Indian users are not using it, so they are on a very huge loss. So what they have done is that they have created a BGMI, Battlegrounds India, the same application with a different name, that is BGMI, and there now they have deployed it in a Mumbai data center. In Mumbai, there is one of the data center is there. They have deployed this application into the Mumbai data center. So that's the reason now people are started using the BGMI. PUBG, again, it is a PUBG only. They've come with a different name this time, that is BGMI, Battlegrounds in India. So this is how people started using it. Now the users of the application is India, and the data is there in Indian data centers only. So now the data compliance problem is not there. It is compliant enough. The data is compliant enough. So that's the reason now the Korean company again seeing a huge profits. Okay, so this is what we call as a data compliance problem, guys. So this was the government has actually banned because of the data compliance issue. Now the Korean has already know about their mistake, and they have deployed that application in the Mumbai's data center. Now the data compliant is enough. Okay, data is compliant enough. So that is what we call it as a data compliance requirement. Okay, which is also very, very important, guys. Okay, maybe when you're working in a company, you will get to know more better. But this is what is one of the example, a real world example. Okay, so this is what we have seen the selection criteria. This is our first point. Whenever we deploy resources, try to understand the proximity. Try to deploy it in a multiple regions or zones. Second point, understand the pricing and availability of this resources, because it may vary. Third point, that's it. Okay, by understanding these things, we now know that whenever we deploy a resource, it affects the availability, it affects the resilience and optimal performance and latency. And it also helps meet data compliance requirements and disaster recovery strategies. So this is what is GCP locations, guys. With this one, we have completed the GCP locations concept. So if anyone have any questions, please raise your hand. If anyone have any questions, you can please raise your hand, guys.
I have a question.
Yes, Varun, please.
Okay, so you said I heard all your 3 points. They are valid. But
Correct.
second, where you said that in order to be fault tolerant application, in order
Correct.
to yeah
Correct.
to make a fault tolerant application, you need to deploy your applications in multiple zones and multiple locations. But
Correct.
why that is a problem? Why? One is because since we are paying for cloud, the billing is actually per hour or something, right? The companies charge the customers per hour. So if we are storing the data in 2-3 locations, so they are actually we are storing the same information in 3-4 places, and that is why the billing would also be double or triple, right? So we
No,
are
no, 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 no. So yeah, that's actually a very good point. I will talk about that one now.
right,
Look at
right.
here. So it's not that you are manually go and deploy it. Okay, so because the cloud is actually giving a benefit to us, cloud also come up with a logic with that one. So it's not that you are manually creating a multiple buckets and selecting a multiple location. It's not like that. So when I say select a multiple zones or multiple regions, so while you are selecting a single region, now you know that there is no replication of the data. Okay, so what the Google Cloud Platform comes up with the concept of replication. What is that replication? When you select a single region, the data is only available in that particular region. But when you select a multi-region, what will happen is that, so whatever the data, whenever you select a multi-region, so that is the reason zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, what will happen is that while you are deploying the data resources, whenever it will be deployed to the zone 1, due to the high bandwidth network and low latency network, it will be replicated to the zone 2 because you selected a multi-regions or multi-zones. So due to the high network and low latency network, again replicated to the zone 3. So your data is replicated to the zone 1 to zone 2 to zone 3. Your data is available here, available here, available here. It's
Correct.
not that you are doing it. It is that the effort is taken care by the Google Cloud Platform with a little bit of additional cost. That also you can see here. This is a storage cost. This is a default replication cost. Okay, so this is a default replication cost because your data is replicated to the multiple regions in the United States. So this is you have a replication cost. So Google is putting a lot of effort to make your data available all the time. So that is the reason it is replicating the data. I already told you yesterday also. I told you guys, if you remember, so zones are separated from each other
Yeah.
within a region and provide the fault tolerance and resilience by a high bandwidth network and low latency network. Because zones are already connected with the high bandwidth network and low latency network, they are capable of doing these kind of activities, replications. Okay, so replications are very important to provide you the high availability of your application or data.
There will be
Okay,
extra cost added to it.
additional cost, because you know that if it is not important to you, if your data is not that much critical to you, you go for single region. If you think that at any cost I don't want it to lose my data because it is very critical to me, this
Uh,
data is very critical to me, then I go for multi regions or multi zones.
I have a
Okay,
question. Don't you think that in that case we have concept of snowflake zero copy cloning in that, or external tables wherein if
that's
even
different.
have
That
one.
is totally different. What you are saying is that we are
What?
talking about a object storage data, we are talking about an application, we are talking about something. Okay, what you are saying is that maybe Snowflake has its own methodology, but the GC is what we are talking about, the GCP's methodology. Okay, so this is how it has come up with the high availability of the application. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, anyone, please? If anyone have any questions, please raise your hand, guys. Okay, do we have any questions? This is the best time, guys. Even though you have a simple question or if you wanted to ask something, you can ask. This is the time. We have like 10 minutes. Okay. From Monday onwards, the sessions will be regular, guys. Don't miss out. So from Monday onwards, the sessions will be regular. So far, I may be talking about the very, very basic things 1 or 2 times I'm telling you. because these are very, very basic things. Monday onwards, the sessions are regular. So be on time and try to attend the live sessions only, which try to ask as many as questions whenever you have. Okay. So this is what from the Monday onwards, the regular sessions you have it. Try to complete your registrations also. Those who wanted to enroll for the course to the same thing, try to connect with the admin and enroll for the course. So this is what you have to do, guys. Okay. So this is any questions, anyone you can ask me. This is a Q&A session, guys. If anyone have any questions on the topics that you are covering, or the course content, or the course details, anything, if anyone have any questions, you can ask me, guys.
At what time do we get the recording on each class every day? Or after how long do we have to wait to get the recording? Do we get it every
Yeah,
single
let
day?
me just confirm that with an admin. Give me 1 minute. How soon they are uploading it, right? So how soon after the session they are uploading? That is what is your question, right?
Yes, correct. Thank
Yeah,
you.
after the session, how soon we are uploading the recording session. Okay, recording session. So yeah, I have asked the question, and in few minutes they are going to answer it. I'm going to tell you. Yeah, here I'm going to get a reply. Give me 1 minute, guys. They are saying that it will be available by next day. Okay, that means today it is 7 p.m. right? So within in the morning you will be getting it. Okay, yeah. You already know that it is in India. The time is 7 p.m. That is almost we are at night. You can think of. Okay, 7 to 8 means night. So in the morning, maybe you can think of like within 10-12 hours you are going to get it. Okay, next day morning you are going to get it, guys. That's the answer for that. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, anyone, please? If anyone have any questions, please go ahead and ask me, guys. If you do not have any questions, we can wind up this session. I'll be here only for next 5 minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask me, guys. I'll still be here only for next 5 minutes. So if anyone have it.
So who's going to help us with the resume making and the LinkedIn profiles and all?
So the team will help you for the resumes. I already have. I will be sharing it you. The team will provide you the access to the material. Once they have provided the access to the material, you have already the resume templates available. You can
Okay.
go and download it. You can prepare it accordingly. And again, team will review it. The team or admin will review your resume again, and they will help you if there is any modifications required. Okay. Yeah.
And the question Sagashi was asking you. So the recordings will be put
Yes.
on LMS next day after 12 hours latency, or is it
It's actually now I think hope most of the people are in India, right? Already it's night for us, right? It's already 8 p.m. Right? So the videos will be in the morning. That means we'll take a sleep of 8 hours. After the next minutes, once the team is in the morning, they will upload it. So that's what they do. Okay, because what happens with the Zoom is that the problem with the Zoom is that whatever the video it has recorded right in the Zoom, it actually take whatever the recorded video, it actually take 1 to 2 hours for the processing, because nowadays what it is Zoom is doing, it is comes up with the AI features and all. The recorded video has to be processed at least 1 to 2 hours. So by the time it is midnight for us, so that's the reason people are our team is not uploading it. In the next morning itself they are going to upload it. Okay, you got the point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but same question again.